Well, it's that time. We have next gen Xbox rumors hitting the wire. It's a bit crazy to think that we're already starting to hear next-gen Xbox rumors hitting the wire at this point, but here we are in the first week of 2025 talking about the next-gen Xbox console, which we know is coming. While there's been some speculation that Microsoft would sometimes exit the console business, Phil Spencer has said, look, there's more hardware coming, there's more consoles specifically coming, and so you got to take that at face value that, yeah, they're not actually exiting the console business, if you will. However, the Xbox Series consoles, as we know them today, launched in 2020, so it's been 5 years. So if there are going to be next-gen rumors, it could be a year or two away. The Xbox One was released in 2013, which means there was a 7-year gap. And so if we're at 5 years being 2 years out, I mean, that's not crazy, but at the same time, you kind of got to just peel things back. Now, I'll be fully transparent here. The show notes that I initially created for this I was actually looking at the CES announcements and trying to just put things together where I thought the next gen Xbox console would go. I mean, you got to remember that these specs get locked in many years prior to shipping, and so if we're what I consider 2 years roughly away from the next gen console, we should starting to see like what's current gen today will be what lands in the console. However, upon doing this research about AMD's CES announcements, this rumor hit the wire about a Prime, Xbox Prime. And this was supposed to be a code name, if you will, for the next gen console coming in 2026, which would be earlier than usual. However, Jez Corden has already said, look, there's no such thing as Prime, so maybe we should just write all this off. And so I just wanted to bring that up as I started to kind of dive into this next experience and thing that Xbox is going to be launching. However, you can't ignore the fact that Jez does come out and say in the comments of where he's like, that's not it. He's like, there could be a console launching in 2026. It's just that the Prime name is probably not really accurate or a thing at all. It could just be made up. I don't really know. The only thing I really know about Microsoft and the Xbox Prime specifically is that Microsoft will have multiple code names for a product. So there's typically like a marketing code name, an engineering code name. Sometimes there's remember Scarlet was like the overarching code name for the Series S and X, and then there was Anaconda, and then there was Lockhart. So there will be a lot of code names related to this next gen console. Prime is maybe one of them. I honestly do not know. But I do want to jump kind of like into the specs here and how I think this is all going to potentially play out, because again, this next console is going to be, I think, very different than what we have seen historically coming from Camp Xbox. So at CES, quite literally today, RDNA 4 architecture. So that would seem pretty plausible. Like we're going to start to see that showing up potentially in the next gen consoles. Remember, Xbox has a very long history with AMD, and so does PlayStation. So I don't think it's inappropriate to say that the next version of PlayStation will probably have RDNA 4 or above, probably coming from AMD, right? This all just makes sense. It's what they have done for years and years and years at this point. And so RDNA 4 is something people should be paying attention to. Also, unless you've been under a rock, Copilot and AI and all that stuff has been a huge part of the Microsoft conversation. Now, I fully expect the NPUs to show up on the next gen console because, right, that's going to be the thing that powers the AI. And so it fits right into this RDNA 4 architecture. It's supercharged with AI. Now, given where we are right now, it might be like an RDNA 4.5 or something like that maybe lands on the consoles. But everyone's going to like comment and be like, no, they're going to have something newer. Yeah, it'll probably be slightly newer, but I bet it'll be based off of a Zen 5 architecture, RDNA 4 or above or something like that. A bunch of cores, right, and some high performance bandwidth, and that's really going to be about it. And then the question someone's going to inevitably say, but Brad, you said they're going to be building a handheld. Well, first off, I didn't say that. Phil Spencer effectively said that. And so at CES this week, we've gotten a ton of handhelds. Like even there's like an 11-inch one from Asus, I believe. And so we're seeing a ton of handhelds. I honestly think that if they are going to build a handheld, there's probably two hardware products, right? I cannot imagine that Xbox is giving up on that console that sits under the TV. That is their bread and butter. That is what they're known for. But when it comes to handheld, I think I could see Xbox be taking a risk here as opposed to what is being announced at CES by all of these companies. The one thing lacking in the Xbox/Windows portfolio is gaming on ARM. And none of these vendors, none of the vendors who are like Acer, Dell, and all those guys, they're not going to take a risk on ARM. They're going to just slap an x86 chip in there because they know it'll work, be zero compatibility issues. If someone's going to have to fall in the sort of compatibility, it's going to have to be Xbox/Windows. And so a handheld ARM device from Xbox would be super interesting because it would start to turn the wrench of like, hey, we got to get ARM up to speed on gaming, and who's going to drive that? Well, Xbox. And so you could see a tandem combination here where there is AMD underneath your TV, and then there's also a mobile device coming from Xbox running ARM, and that way they can get ARM up to speed on gaming, and that is more than likely going to be it. You got to remember that ARM stuff came from, the FTC 2020, almost said 2013, 2023 leaks when they were trying to buy Activision. Like there was some talk of the next gen console being on ARM. And so there you go. Something I really do want to point out, because people are going to get tied up and say 2026, that is too new. Or that is too recent for a new generation of console. I think at this point we can declare that console generations are dead. They never really, I mean, you can ask anybody who's a console gamer, it's like this generation felt like it never really arrived. And then this is still being supported. So Call of Duty Black Ops 6 on both PlayStation and Xbox supports last gen. You can go buy the latest version of Call of Duty, 4 years after the release of the new, current gen console, and still buy it for Xbox One. PlayStation 4 is also supported. And so the point here is that timing of console releases, I think, is going to become less and less relevant over the grander sort of scale if you think about this, because Xbox has known and done a very good job of supporting a back catalog, right? It used to be that you had to take this physical game, put it in a device, and hit play. And so there was no backwards compatibility because the slot, the literal slot you would slide the game into would change in the reader, and you couldn't do it. Now that games are backwards compatible in the way that they're designed today, the generations have sort of melted away, which I honestly am in favor of. And so that realistically means that the next gen console, the generations, there is no generation. It's just a current console that takes the current titles and just plays them better, higher RDNA 4. I think we're going to see a lot of this AI upscaling where it will take an existing game and make it 4K and 120 frames per second would be the minimum expectation. And it'll just make everything that you play already better. And then obviously as new games launch, they will be better as well. I mean, the real question becomes is when are they going to stop supporting Xbox One and PS4? We don't really know, but as of right now, it doesn't seem like there's any hard indicator that that's going to be happening anytime soon. So here's why I think all of this is important, right? We've been hearing this marketing campaign. It's made some shockwaves, but this is an Xbox, right? Sort of the current expectation from Team Xbox right now is that everything is going to become an Xbox. And why do we think that? Because that is what they are literally telling us right now, that everything is an Xbox. So next generation might just be an app that plays all the Xbox stuff, has all the experiences, and does everything. You can play it on your computer, you can play it on your laptop, you can play it on your console, you can play it on your handheld. It doesn't really matter because everything is an Xbox with the same experience, the same Xbox Live integration, same achievements, same everything. It just, where are you opening the app is the only thing that is different. So here's where this comes in why I think 2026 might seem plausible. So if Microsoft is ready on the software side, which they feasibly will get there a lot faster than the hardware team would on a traditional cycle, right? They build the app, they build the launcher that is going to run on all these things, and it's all ready to go for everything. If they launch all of that stuff without a console, it is going to have negative shockwaves through the entire Xbox community. And you're saying, well, Brad, what the heck do you mean? What the heck do you mean? Like, this is an Xbox. So just imagine for a second that it is fall of 2026. Microsoft announces this new grand strategy, how they're going to grow their user base, how Xbox is everywhere and Xbox is everything. And you want to buy a new console. And the only place you can buy it from is Dell or HP. Microsoft is not selling one. Everybody would riot that they are out of the console business and they are truly just a publisher, and everybody else will build the hardware. So Microsoft has to align that Xbox is everywhere strategy more than likely with a new piece of hardware, because they don't want to be selling the Series X when there's a Dell device, an Acer, an Asus, whoever, because those companies will latch on to say this is the best Xbox, and that means they have to have a console. So that is why I don't think 2026 is outrageous. But the thing that we don't know, the missing component of all this, is what is that strategy and when is it going to come to market? Because once we understand when it's going to come to market, I'm almost certain that is going to be a new hardware arrival for Xbox, because there's probably architecture changes, right? It would not surprise me if the next gen Xbox might just be quite literally vanilla PC parts that match up to a spec that any vendor can go buy. And then that is, a certified Xbox at the end of the day. So, yeah, the intent of this was to more dive into that they got to launch hardware with the new software initiative, which will be a more baseline, off-the-shelf componentry than more of the Xbox Prime. But the Xbox Prime landed. I don't really know, but that's, I think, more of a moot point of trying to understand why they have to launch hardware when they will do it. So, just wanted to shine some light on that. I put together the show notes and it all came together. So as always, my friends, make sure to keep it subscribed here, because the BS on this channel is me.